this is our second workshop about cancer-related fatigue, and Gemma's going to be focusing on goal setting this time. So hopefully you all enjoyed the first workshop and found that useful. And afterwards I'm going to send, and hopefully found those resources that we sent around afterwards as well helpful. And we're also going to send, I can see some nods, that's great. We're going to send around a feedback form just to get some useful feedback, positive or constructive is really helpful for both of us. So we're going to send that round after this one, and you can feedback on them both if that's all right. So I introduced Gemma last time, so you should hopefully I should have introduced myself, sorry, for anyone that missed it on the last one. I'm Georgie and I'm the 5K Away operational manager. So I'm just helping kind of organize these workshops, and we've got some fantastic hosts actually leading them. So today, as you know, is Gemma Hillier-Moses, and she's our Move founder and our 5K Away co-founder, and lots of other things. So I'll just seen a few more people join. So welcome. Don't worry, you've not missed anything. We're just saying hello, and I'll pass you on to you, Gemma. Thank you.
Brilliant. Thank you for the lovely introduction, Georgie. Shall I unpin you now so you can
yeah, I'll put myself on mute as well.
Go into the crowd.
Thanks.
Thanks, Georgie. So we're going to kickstart our goal setting workshop today, and I'm going to share my screen with you shortly. So this is a follow-on workshop. I mean, it can be a standalone workshop in itself, but it's a follow-on workshop from the fatigue workshop that all of you were part of a couple of months ago now. How time flies. But the whole point why we wanted to do this workshop is it's always great to have all the information around, cancer-related fatigue and getting active and what you need to do or what you maybe should be aiming for, but actually putting it into action and putting plans in place can be really difficult and can particularly be overwhelming. And I think what I want to talk to you about is, so the summary of this workshop is going to be what are goals and what do they mean in our lives, because I think it's something that people sometimes put as something that you would do at work or something that you may have done in education in the past, but actually to put them into your personal lives is something that people don't perhaps think about. And a lot of what I've done a lot of goal setting in my personal life over the last year, especially kind of because of lockdown. And what I've loved about it is some area of self-reflection as well, which I think is really important for a lot of us right now in our lives, and giving us day-to-day purpose as well as something to look forward to, but also a plan to put in place in terms of what small steps and positive changes that you can make in different areas of your life. So that's what I'm going to be talking about today. Now, the way I go through goal setting isn't necessarily, there are a couple of different ways, so it isn't necessarily the right way, but hopefully it's a way that you may resonate with, but you also may choose to just take some snippets of information from this and then use other resources as well that you find useful. So I am gonna, there's obviously a couple of ways of doing goal setting, and a lot of people focus on the SMART goal setting tools, and actually I'm going to move a little bit away from those and try and help people in a different way to set structure and goals into their lives. So I'm going to just share my screen. I'm just going to make sure that I get my presentation up. Sorry, I'll just make sure I'm just sharing my screen so that you all can see the screen and you can see my presentation. Started jazzing things up. We don't use PowerPoint anymore, we use Canva. So I kind of have to go onto the internet to share that. So what I want to start off with, and I think this, we used the chat box a lot in our last workshop and it worked really well. So it can often be difficult during virtual workshops to unmute everybody and actually get through the workshop in 45 minutes or an hour. But what I loved was the interaction in the last workshop from the chat box and what we got from you and the energy we got, but also the insight into your life. And how you're doing right now, because that's really important to share that. So what we're going to start off with, so as Georgie said, as a charity, we support and inspire people to move against cancer, and these workshops have become a really important part of that. And what I want to start off with is actually bringing in our own positives for the week. So we did this in the last workshop, but sometimes it can be really, and this is part of the goal setting process, it can be really difficult to see positives or things that you're grateful for in your life until we look a little deeper. So I want everybody to just pop in their chat box, and I'm going to kick it off. But I'd like everyone to pop in the chat box one of your positives for the week. And if you can share it, you don't have to share it with everybody, you can just share it with me, or you can share it with everybody, but just one positive. So my one positive is that on Saturday and Sunday, I sat in the garden reading a book and having a cup of tea for about 2 to 3 hours in the sunshine, which was incredible. So, you know, that was my little bit, I mean, it's gone freezing now, I've got the heating on and really woolly socks, but that was my positive for the weekend, really. So that's me kicking it off. So if you pop them in the chat box, I can have a little read and we can all take a bit of energy into that before we start the workshop. Okay, so Paul's put, I've been out running twice this week. Amazing. Well done, Paul. That's awesome. Love that. Hopefully you've had a bit of sunshine on those runs as well. Yeah, one bit of sunshine and a little bit of back to wrapping up warm. I think we've been the same. So yeah, so Jane's put, I've managed to go for a run. Awesome, Jane. Everybody's having a bit of a run this week. I went for a run for the first time in months. Amazing. Lisa, I bet that felt great. So restarted couch to 5k, Lisa, as well. Kath, lovely walks with the husband. Janet, still exercising every day. Day 92 of chemo. Brilliant. So, you know, everybody's at different journeys here. Do we have any more takers for some positives? Don't worry if you don't want to share. So Rachel's put also 2 runs this week and cross everywhere. Yeah, I think I'm not quite sure what that says. Anyway, Kath, and baked a lot and continue to eat healthily despite not having lost any weight yet. And Kath, you know, it's all about that positive relationship with food and just giving nutritious food into your body. That's really important. So Leslie, Sunday marked 2 years cancer free. So amazing. So celebrating milestones as well. That's awesome. So there's lots of positive things going on. I'd like to say I have a positive around baking. I've seen some health eating baking. I'm trying to attempt a sourdough recipe. So if anybody has any sourdough recipes that they absolutely love, please send them across. I'd love to get trying those. Okay, so we'll move on to the so keep popping things in the chat box. Georgie's going to keep an eye on it and I'll check back throughout the presentation. But what you need today is you're going to need a pen and a paper, because I want you to do some, if you do have one, if you don't, you can keep it in your mind as we go through this, or you can look back at this workshop. So really today is about giving you food for thought, some ideas and some tools and knowledge in order to bring this information into your own life. So I would say that this isn't perhaps just a case of doing this workshop once and then just pop that off. I'm just trying to get rid of the chat box. Doing this workshop once and then everything just falls into place. Goal setting takes hard work, it takes practice, and it takes time. So I just want to say that at the start of the workshop. So what I'm aiming to do is give you an understanding and give you a kick start into this process, but you will need to take your time and invest some time into it. So at the moment, everything can feel incredibly overwhelming. And a lot of people, some people have the thought process of waiting for, and this is the same if if you're going through cancer treatment or you finish your treatment or wherever you are in that journey, or you're living with cancer, people can kind of get in the headspace that I wait till something's over before I start thinking about how I can make changes into my life. And like, as we have known with the pandemic, we don't know when things are gonna start again, really. Like, we have a bit of a timeline. Boris is an overpromiser, so we never know the dates. Don't stick 21st in your diary. Everybody's put in that date, but things change, and you know that's life. And I think waiting until the right moment isn't what we want to do with goal setting. We actually want to make plans and start this process now. And what goal setting will do is give you the direction and the focus, provide you with structures to your day, start that motivation period. So you are on this workshop because you are quite motivated, and we all need a bit of motivation right now, and also be able to help give you positive thoughts for the future. And hopefully goal setting can really help, even if your goal is a physical goal, it can really help with mental health as well, which is really important. But what we need to make sure, we need to go through a bit of a process with goal setting so we know how to do it and what to do. So I'll take us back to what are goals. So goals are dreams with a deadline. And I'm not talking about unrealistic dreams. They're just things that we think about that we want to put into place, but instead of letting them just be a thought in our head that we never really write down, we never become accountable to, we actually start to turn these thoughts and these dreams and these visions of where we want to go in our life or how we want to feel ourselves into accountable, realistic plans. And that's what's really important about this writing. So a lot of us may have gone away from the writing process, but I tell you what, an old notebook or a journal and a pen goes a long way in goal process, setting process. Get away from that computer, get away from digital, and start going back to old school, because it feels good to do that. So what we want to do is we can create goals for all different areas in our life. But what I'd suggest is starting off with 1 or 2 areas of your life that you think will make the biggest improvements to your health and happiness if you start working on those areas. So I always say people go into this and try and do way too much. You need to keep things simple and you need to just break things down, which is what we're going to do today. So before creating goals for a specific area in your life, what you actually need to do is contemplate what goals are important to you. Now, this is where we do become aware of ourselves and dig that little bit deeper. And this is where writing down is so important. So what we want to look at is what what do I truly desire for my life? So this is the questions. And again, you'll be able to listen back to this again if you can't write this down, but these are the questions when you're looking at your goals, what you need to ask yourself. So what do I truly desire for my life? Why do I want it? So if it's I want to, say for example, it's I want to be able to go for a walk with my friends and feel comfortable and happy and feel like I've got the fitness to do that. That's what you're truly desiring, is to get out, to be active. And then, but why do you want it? There's a deeper meaning to why you want the goals. And this is really, really important, because if you understand the why behind your goals, that's what's going to help your motivation to be able to stick at those goals and achieve those goals. If you're setting a goal that somebody else has told you to set, the unlikelihood is that you don't have the internal motivation to make that happen, and you won't make that happen. So the next question we need to ask ourselves is, well, how will I make it happen? When I look at myself, so for example, say my goal's in 4 months' time or a year's time, can I imagine myself in that position? So I've achieved my goal in a year's time. What does that person need to look like? What does that person need to be? What things does that person need to have put in place in order to achieve that goal? So for it, I'll give you an example. I just use this example because I'm a runner. So I'm going to be running the marathon in October. So I'm going to be running London Marathon. Now I'm imagining myself stood on that start line, and I'm asking myself, well, what do I need to have done to get on that start line to in the best shape possible to run the best time possible? And that would be, I need to work on, my training, my endurance, my rest and recovery, my strength work, my eating really good food, looking at my pacing strategy. So I need to understand what I need to do to get there first, if that makes sense. So again, that's a bit of self-reflection. I'm going to ask you some questions after this and do some work in the chat box. But what I'm just going to move this to make sure I can see what I'm saying. So the next one is, what are the actions that I need to take? So we're just doing the introduction part. We are going to go a little bit deeper. When will I have, and when will I have achieved my goal? And I think this is a really nice one. Who do I need in my team to bring my goals alive? So I really, really like that, in terms of like, who do I actually need in my team? Because we all need sometimes a bit of a team, and sometimes it's not possible to have a team, and that's absolutely fine. But if I do have a chance of having a team, who do I need in that? Is that partner, friends, workshops, like Cancer Rehab Instructors? What do I need in my life to be able to achieve my goal? So I'm just gonna, so this is what I'd write this down. And this, when we talk about goals, I always say stick things when I work with people individually. So as a cancer rehab instructor, I often talked about sticking things on your bedroom wardrobe or on your bathroom and your mirror that you see every day, that inspires you to work towards those goals. So what we look at is actions, goals plus actions equals success. And I do want to point out here that success really means so many different things to different people. So I think this is really important to say. Often success doesn't have to be an end goal point in terms of like a challenge or a time or, you know, a way, what we see success as. So often it can be, how happy do I feel internally, or do I feel healthier, or have I been able to, you know, make those small steps to change success? You really need to understand and really need to reflect, what is success for you? What does that look like? And how would you, you know, can your goals, can you plan your goals towards feeling that success that's individual to you? So let's talk about your goals. So I want a little bit of group participation, and don't worry if you don't want to share them, but often this is similar to writing them down, and this can kind of kickstart the process, because sometimes we can feel a little bit embarrassed about sharing our goals or writing them down because we kind of don't want them to be real, or we don't want to admit them to ourselves. And that's the first hurdle that we all need to overcome, is admitting and becoming accountable to our goals. So you can either share this in the chat box, or you can write this down in your notepad. But the 3 questions I want to ask you is, do you have any goals in mind? Like, before coming on this workshop, were you thinking, oh, you know, it'd be nice to do this by this date, or it'd be nice to achieve this? Second question is, have you written them down? And are you actually at the moment taking any action towards them? And it's fine if you haven't got to this process just yet at all, but I'd love to hear in the chat box. And I think, Georgie, you know, if you want to also participate in this as well, it'd be great to see, it'd be really great to hear what those are. So have a go, just pop in the chat box. Let's start with, do you have any goals? We've also got a sourdough recipe coming through, so that's going to be my goal. So yeah, so pop in the chat box if you don't mind sharing. Do you have any goals, or have you thought about what goals you've got for this point in time? We have any sharers? Okay, I'll give you a couple of seconds to just see. Yeah, Cass, so trying to work out what my goals are first. Yeah, and this is part of this workshop, will help you to do that. So Jane's put slimmer and fitter me. Yeah, so that's quite a specific goal. And what we'll talk about is, okay, that goal is to be a slimmer and fitter me, but what else does that feel like? What does that mean to me, like in terms of that internal feeling? And we're going to talk a bit like that. The why behind wanting to achieve that goal is so important. So Georgie's is to grow our 5K away community. Yeah, brilliant. And again, it's like, what does that goal mean to you? What is the why behind that? And then what is the plan that we're going to look at putting in place? So Paul, I'm planning on completing the Ironman over a month. Brilliant. Yeah. So that's a big goal, very big goal. So good luck with that. And that's, you know, again, you need that plan behind it. You need to have it written down. And I think for some of you, you're just discovering your goals. Other people have planned goals before, and hopefully we can help you with the blueprint to achieving those goals. And I think that's key. So Janet's put triathlon in September and cycle in October. Yep, I can imagine. That's brilliant. And then September, October are going to be busy months with everybody getting out, as long as things go to plan. Leslie's put, definitely have a goal, not physically written down. I want to climb Helvellyn. Brill, yeah, that's an awesome goal. And actually, I'd like to see how this process, Leslie, helps you in terms of writing it down. And what I always say about the writing down process, or talking through your goals with the right people. So there are people that can put you down around your goals, so you have to choose those people correctly. But what it does is it stops you floating. So it stops you floating along without any focus, without a vision, and it helps you to really live life with a bit more purpose by having those goals. And the reason why people struggle to sometimes write them down is because they fear failure. Now, failure is something that I think is an important part of life. I think that it's where we learn and it's where we grow. And what I'd like to do is try and help people to, you know, become less fearful of failure and actually just embrace it as a part of life. Like, if you don't hit your goal, it doesn't make a difference. The biggest thing is that you've worked towards achieving that goal. And actually, the majority of our life learning comes from the journey towards that goal, not necessarily that goal in itself, if that makes sense. So we learn so much about ourselves, the people around us, our bodies, our mental health during that journey. And if we fall short of that goal, we reflect, we relearn, and we move forward. And so I think it's a case of, don't look at failure as, often you don't want to write stuff down because just in case I don't achieve that, well, forget about that, get it down and focus on that process. So Lisa's put here, yes to complete Couch to 5K and get back to work. So again, we're seeing a couple of different categories of goals. So fitness goal, and a health goal, and then also a work type goal. And that's, you know, it's good to have, like I said, starting slowly, but it's good to have a couple of different areas of your life that you want to focus on. Rachel's put half marathon in June, hopefully, fingers crossed, and would like to break 90 minutes. So again, very specific time-bound goal. And Lisa's put here, to get back to my pre-cancer fitness. Okay, brilliant. So thank you very, very much for sharing those. And I think I'd just like to ask people just to put a yes and no in the box. Have you written those goals down, and are you taking action towards them already, or are you using this process to do that? So just put yes, yes, or no, no, yes, yes. It's just good to have this chat box, and I hope you're finding it useful to bounce ideas back and forward as well. Okay, brill. Yeah, so a lot of people are actually starting, using this process. Good. Hopefully I can come in useful with that. And so it's good to see that some people are actually already writing their goals down and taking actions towards them. Some people are using this process, and some of you who may have not answered are actually don't even know where to start. I know, years ago, I didn't know where to start with goal setting. I didn't really know what I was doing with it, and that's fine. And so Leslie's put not written, started planning and started on the fitness. Brill. Okay, brilliant, everyone. So I'm just going to close the chat box for a second, and I'm just going to move on to the next slide. So I'm just going to move my screen. So just want to give you a little bit of background into short-term and long-term goals. So it is really important to have short-term goals as well as our long-term goals and long-term vision. And the reason for this is research suggests that the brain becomes tired and we can lose focus after 90 days. And I mean, right now, it feels like we can lose focus after a day of living in my house 24/7. So research has probably changed a little bit. But that's we can really focus on something for 90 days. So while it's important to spend 5% of our brain power thinking about our long-term goal, it's important to spend 95% of our brain power thinking about the 90-day plan, action, and process. So I talk a lot about the process, but the process can have small goals within that, which become your short-term and medium-term goals. Because sometimes it can be what happens is you get your long-term goal, and it might be quite ambitious, it might be very achievable, but it can seem such a long way away, so it can become very overwhelming. So if you don't have a plan or a process or some short-term goals, you often end up starting it and then just becoming quite distracted and floating along because you've got nothing to keep you accountable week by week, month by month. So Georgie's used to this process because I've implemented it into the charity, but we look at our goals in quarters, so your 90-day goals, and we call them rocks. And this is just a term that relates to us, but what the principles around it is looking at fitting rocks, pebbles, and sand into a vase. So if basically you put your rocks in last, the likelihood is that they're not going to fit. So what you need is the rocks at the bottom of the jar, then you need your pebbles, then you need your sand, and then your sand falls straight underneath and everything fills into the jar. So if you don't have your rocks, which are your foundations and what you want to aim towards, then you'll be completely lost and there'll be holes and cracks all the way through. So again, rocks are just goals. It's just a different terminology to use them. I do think that we can be a little bit brave in our goals. I do believe, and I believe that we often can achieve more than we really think we can achieve. So I think long-term goals should scare you a little bit. It should feel a little bit out of reach, because you're going to have your short-term goals and medium-term goals that you're going to feel like are achievable. And if you add all the sums up over those short-term, medium goals, they should equal and give you that long-term goal and focus. So long-term goals need to have incentives along the way, and I think rewards in different ways are really important. Short-term goals need to be realistic and achievable, but by ticking these off, you're rewarding yourself and your mind, and that really helps you to feel good. So this is what I'm going to take you through. Now, I said I'm not going to go through the SMART goal setting principles, but you, in your mind, you should always have those SMART goal setting principles in your mind, just to help you with this process. But I think the SMART principle has been overused so much, and sometimes we need to mix things up in the way we talk about setting goals. So just as a reminder, when we look at the SMART goal setting principles, it stands for looking at specific goals, making them specific, making them measurable, making them achievable, relevant, and time bound. So I think that's quite prevalent for your medium and short-term goals, but I think long-term goals can be a little bit unrealistic to make you want to drive to achieve those goals. And it's not right, that's not right for everybody, but it's something to think about. So I'm going to take you through the 6-step process for creating and achieving meaningful goals. So while I go through this, we won't use the chat box, but I want you to think about this in your head, and I'd like you to write down just some thoughts that you have. So use this as a bit of a working opportunity to write down some thoughts that you might have when I say these things. So I touched on it at the beginning, but the first step is to think about, what do you want? So this is looking at the final outcome. So I'd recommend, just for this process, just choosing one goal. So it might be a health goal, it might be a fitness goal, it might be a work goal, but just choose one for this process so you can have quite a clear headspace. So what do you want? This is your final outcome and the ultimate goal that you're shooting for. So a lot of you have put that already in the chat box. So we're going to move on to stage 2. So this is the biggest one. I need everyone to go a little bit deeper. So for example, if it's to lose weight, there's more of a thought process behind that. And you need to go deep into why you want that to happen, because some of it will be self-esteem, some of it will be to complete certain things that you didn't do before, some of it will be to feel better, some of it will be to, if somebody's got kids and they want to run around the kids a lot more. There's more than just that, what's on the surface, basically, I'm trying to say. So know why you want that goal. A strong why is important because it gives you the motivation that propels you towards your goals. So a good question to ask yourself is, when I achieve this goal, will I be happier and have more of what's important to me? So that's the definition of success, really. That, will I be happier and will I have more of what's important to me? So your success is very different. So mine's very different to Paul's very different to Georgie's. What that means to us is really different. So make that individual to you. And what I'd say here is, try and zone out of external influencers and external people telling you what they think that you should achieve. We absorb things from other people, and often, if we don't deeply think about it, our goals really can be based on what other people want us to do and achieve, or what they see as important to us. And actually, it might be the case we have, the same goals or the same ideas as our partners or friends. Make sure you are really basing it on what you want to achieve. So number 3, this is when I spoke about that analogy of being on the start line and looking back and thinking, who is the person I need to be in order to achieve my goal? So who do you need to be to have it, really? So this is all about the mindset behind the action. So step back and look at the person achieving your goal. So try and visualize you in 6 months or a year's time having achieved your goal. Who do you need to be at that point in time? So like we said, from a running analogy point of view, that could be that's the good fueling, pacing, recovery, journaling, training diaries, all those sort of things. So you think about what you need to be. So for example, somebody who we work with, say, on a cancer rehab journey, they're at the start of their cancer rehab journey and they want to get stronger and build their foundations to achieve their goals in 16 to 20 weeks time. So I would ask them, well, what, in order to achieve a goal, what do you need to look like, or what attributes do you need to have? And some of them are, I need to be dedicated to my plan. I need to write my goals down. I need to make time for myself. I need, I'm rubbish at time management. I need to look at how I can use Google Calendar to help me and put reminders in to get myself out for my walk or my home exercise session. So really, that's how you really think about what those steps really need to look like. So again, I'm just giving you the food for thought and the ideas, and this is where you need to write this down today and away from the session as well. So this can take a good 2 hours to really process your goals and think about it. So definitely take it away and carry this process on. And then the next step is, how will you get there? So what you need to do is break down your goal into small projects. So it's a case of, I'm going to talk to you about the 90-day and the weekly reviews and plans, but you can break them down into milestones. So what are the things in those milestones that I need to achieve? So list all the actions that it takes you to complete each milestone or project. So again, if you have a goal of somebody on a exercise cancer after they finish their treatment, one of the first milestones might be to go for a walk with my friends for half an hour. The next milestone might be to go for a walk for an hour in 3 weeks' time. And then it's okay, within those milestones, well, I know I need to get a little bit fitter heart and lung wise, and I need to get a little bit stronger. But I know right now that all I can do is at home. So what can I do? I need to look at home exercise. I might need to bring in a cancer rehab instructor. So that's breaking down and looking at those milestones and what you need in those milestones. And again, make a list of the people you need in your team to help you achieve your goal. So some of you might feel a little bit alone now, but there is always external help to help you achieve your goal. So is that a cancer rehab instructor? Is that a coach? Is that a workshop that you've seen online that helps you to give you more information and skills and tools? So really have a think of what that might be. And if it does help, and I always think this does, and it's a scary process, share your goals with others in order to keep you accountable, but choose the people you share those goals. There are mood hoovers around. I haven't used that word in years, but I love it. Mood hoovers that won't be interested in you and your goals. And I've had plenty of them in my life, and it's fine. You need to choose who you share them so you can basically take that energy from them. They get excited about your goal. They help you and support you. They're the people you need in your team. I also think this is just an add-on to this. You actually need to have a what-if plan. And I think this is really important because it's not a smooth process to achieving your goals. And this is where I tried to talk to you earlier about not fearing in failure, because this is why we never get started, because we fear failure too much. But unfortunately, there will be obstacles, and your goals, it's not going to be a linear process to achieving your goals. Life is like this, as you will all know, and there's often things that we can't predict. But that doesn't mean we need to throw our notebook out the window or out onto the street and go, well, I'm over all my goals, I can't achieve anything. What it means is, by doing this process already, you're prepared for not necessarily the specific setback, but you're prepared in your mind that it's not going to be smooth because you're going to write it down. So this is what we're looking at, what are the potential obstacles that might happen in the future. And by making plans ahead of time, like we said, you're likely to overcome those barriers when they arrive, and you're more likely to achieve your goals. But if you don't plan for that, you won't be prepared for what's about to happen. So for example, it's things like you're just trying to think of what example I can use. For example, if you decide that in week 1 you want to walk 3 times a week with a friend, for example, and after 2 days of week 1, you realize the friend doesn't want to walk, the weather is just snowed massively heavily and you can't go outside, and so within week 1, 3 of your walks is going to turn into 1 walk, and that's it. Now, often that's when people stop and they go, well, I can't do it, it's done. But if you're prepared to reflect and say, well, you know what, this happened this week. Well, why did it happen? why wasn't I able to go out with my friends? Could I have done something differently? And this is where reflection in goal setting is hugely important. Could I have adapted? So instead of a walk, could I have done a home move your way 5K away workout? So I think it's a case of that reflection in terms of the what if is important before, but also important when things start to go wrong. So don't just go, things start to go wrong, this always happens to me, this is rubbish, I'm just not I'm not the person who's going to achieve their goals. Reflect and change and adapt, and that's the really important part of goal setting. Adapting is key. So anybody got any questions so far? Or actually pop your thumb up in the chat box to check that you're still with me before I move on. Thumbs up in the chat box just to check everybody has any questions at this point in time, or you are still with me. I like a little thumbs up. I'm going to have a sip of my tea as well. One thumb up. Brilliant. Thanks, Lisa. Kath, thumbs up. Good. Georgie's smiley face. We're all with. She's smiling because I said the Move Your Way workshop. Brilliant. Okay, fabulous. So let's move on to number 5. So let's make a time frame for your goal. So again, when do you want to achieve it? And I'm not going to lie, this is a guesstimate. So if you have a more rounded health-based goal where you want to, you want to get a little bit fitter, or you want to slim down a little bit, or you want to, when you don't have a specific, say somebody has, like Paul said, wants to do the Iron Man challenge over a month, or somebody else said about a race on a certain day. If you don't have that, what you need to do is look at creating those time spans, and also creating like a kind of date for when you want to achieve it. It is a pluck in the air, if I'm honest, but it's a case of not making it too far down the line, but making it so a long-term goal would be your 8 to 12 months. Your short-term would medium term would be that 6 months, and then the short-term would be your 90-day goal setting. So make sure that you do have that time-specific, time-bound goal when you want to be achieved. But like we said, being flexible is super important, and knowing those dates can also move. And I think this is really important. If you do have a specific date or a challenge or an event on a certain day, we've known from this year that there's been a lot of changes. And the people that dealt best with those changes are the people that don't just get rid of their goals. They're prepared to be flexible. They move the goalposts, but they always focus on that process. The process goes with them. The goalpost changes, but the process stays the same. And that's really, really important. So that's why the process is really important. And then the last one is, this is really, really important. And this is where people I think journaling's got not a bad name for it, but I think it's become very trendy recently, and people people see journaling as, oh, that's not for me, or I've never done that, I'm not that type of person. And what I talk about with journaling is more just about becoming aware of your thoughts, and that is literally a notepad and pen and doing this process, and that's part of reflection. So often we don't confront ourselves with our fears, so we need to look, and we really need to write down and be honest with ourselves. What are our fears? What are our obstacles? What are our limiting beliefs that we need to overcome? Because often it is our mindset that holds us back in achieving our goals. So this is where you need to really be honest with yourself. Imagine you're talking to somebody else and you're, asking them those harder questions, and you've got to really dig a little bit deeper. But that, digging deeper and writing things down will really help you to create the change that you want to create. And remember, we're all on a life journey. Like, it's okay to be vulnerable and scared and worried. Like, that is normal. And I think the more you write that down and become aware of that, sometimes you realize that is holding you back in terms of achieving your goals. And actually this part of the process helps you to bring them to the table, put them on the table. You don't need to share them with anybody else if you don't want to, but make sure you are aware of what's holding you back so that you can create those changes that you want to create. So hopefully that really helped with you with that 6-step process. I'm just going to quickly, I'm just going to quickly briefly cover again. So one was, what do you want? What's that final goal? What's that final outcome? The second one is the why behind it. So think about that why, not just surface level why, go deeper, because that will really help your motivation. Number 3 was, who do you need to be in order to achieve your goal? So what things might you need to change or bring into your life that you need to help you achieve that goal? How will you get it? So looking down the plan around milestones and project areas and things that you need to bring in, and maybe a team of people or people who are close to you that need to involve in your goal. Step 5 would be, when will you have it? So let's look at time frames and processes and dates, and when do you want to achieve that? And then number 6 is looking at those limiting beliefs and really looking and getting deeper with ourselves around the obstacles and how to overcome them. So the next slide is really about, this is all about you. So this is a great process for me, actually, because it's helped me to reflect on everything, but and relearn again by teaching it. But this is all about you, and your goals are all about you. So make them about you, but find out more about yourself. I think I learned quite a few years ago that I used to just let my thought process be, and it just used to float along, and I didn't really know why or what I was thinking, why I was thinking it, and I didn't really know the effect that my thought process had on my life. And when I started to become aware of that, and part of that was the goal setting process, reflection process, doing things that I thought meaningful to my life, looking at my own values and how I wanted to live my life, it really did help me to make the decisions that were right for me. So don't think it's selfish. Definitely think about you and what you want to achieve. So I know we haven't got too long left, but we're going to just talk about our 90-day goal plan and weekly reflection. So this is where we can look at that 90-day plan. So for example, I'll give you it in terms of what we do as a charity. We have goals set in quarters. So we look at our key goals for that 3 months, and then we analyze at the end of the 3 months, and then move on to the next 3 months, and we work on the process in between that, and that all gears towards our long-term goal, say for example in December 2021, at the end of this year. So break down this 90-day goal, and what you're looking at is what that goal is. What is that, that project? So you might have the first step of your goal. So if, for example, by December 31st, you want to get fitter and be able to walk with your friends on a 3-hour walk, well, what is the first project within that 90 days you need to focus on? And the likelihood is it could potentially be getting the muscles and stronger and getting that fitness back. So then that would be that first project, getting stronger and a little bit fitter. And who do you need to help with that? You might need an instructor, you might be able to do your own home workouts, whatever it is that right for you. I'm just trying to use a couple of examples. So the target date really should be that 90 days from now, or whenever you want to start your goal process, so you can focus towards it. And then you need to look at the actions to actually complete this goal, why you'd love to achieve this goal, and then how I feel when I've achieved this goal. So again, here I'm just using an example of a way of doing goal setting. You don't have to stick to the law with this, but this is just some of the questions that is great to write down. And then you have this, you can stick it up somewhere or have it in your notepad. You have this to look at, which gives you the motivation. So once you've done that, you look at your weekly reflections. Now, this is key. Absolutely key to daily and weekly reflect on your goals. Don't just put them in a notebook and hide it away. Reflect. Okay, ask yourself the difficult questions, or the questions that need to be asked. So what you need to look at is, okay, so for next week, what are my 4 smaller goal areas that I need to focus on? So what are those areas? Again, like we said, if I say 4, it could be 1. It's more you look at 4 as a maximum if you've got a lifestyle goal, a work goal, a fitness goal and a health goal, or I'll go through them in a minute. But if you've got more than 1 goal, then you'd look at maximum 4, no more than 4. If you've got less, if you're just working on 1 goal, it will just be that 1 goal. So you've always got that in your head. You've always got that 5%, what's the long-term process? But then you break that down into your milestones. So what is it that you're specifically working on in this 90 days? And then what are your actions for this week that are going to help you to move towards that goal? But within this, you can also write, okay, so if you break each day down, if you want to reflect each day, you can what have I learned today? So that would be a question. What have I learned today? What could I have done differently? What strengths did I use today? what belief systems potentially might be holding me back at the moment? So there are a couple of questions that you could ask yourself daily, or, you know, once a week if you wanted to, that will really help you refocus on that goal and help you to put the right thought processes and right plans in place to help you daily and weekly work towards your 90-day goals and work towards your long-term and medium and long-term goals. So that's just a couple of questions, and you can add in that as well. What I quite like is the gratitude. So like each day, like write down, what 3 things am I grateful for today? Because when things get tough, when things get hard, that gratitude can be really important. And I will be first to admit that I used to think gratitude was a bit fluffy and it wasn't for me. But now I record it every day because I use a journal. Again, never thought journal was me. It is a game changer for me. And I'm going to just show you which one I use, because I think sometimes it's nice to have a personal perspective, not just educating around goal setting. Actually, what do I use? You know, what helps me? And it might not be right for you, but it might give you some inspiration as well. So we're just going to finish off with the tools and if I can see that, the tools and the tips for goal setting. So obviously we've been through a lot there, and I hope that you've gained that information. And like we said, you can listen to this back to pause it and stop and start it. But what you can do, and I touched on this earlier, was categorize your goals. If you're feeling like you're a little bit overwhelmed, work on these goals separately and categorize them. But I would recommend, if you're new to goal setting process, really just focus on one, because it became difficult to focus on 10 different goals, and you're likely to get overwhelmed and you're likely to stop trying to work towards doing any of them. So start with one and focus on, do your 90-day process with one. And then if you're ready to bring something else into your goal set, your long-term goals, that's great. But don't go, I need to change fitness, lifestyle, health, financial, mindset, work, development. These are just examples. Don't go, I need to change them all now, because you might be feeling energized and excited after this. But each step, remember, it's sometimes about taking that first step, not taking everything and trying to fit it all into your life. A couple of other things. So journals or notebooks are really, really good. So I'm going to show you one that I use. It's not cheap. It's about 40 to 50 quid, but it lasts a year. So an investment for a year is pretty good into my life. And this is the Daily Greatness Journal. And the reason I got it was my husband was not a journaler at all until COVID and the pandemic hit. And he started last January or March, and he's been doing it every single day, morning and night since. And he didn't even write down anything before that. So what this does, and I'm going to kind of show you, but in this journal, it talks about your goals, your achievements, your dreams, your values. So it actually has places where you write all those, your whys, what you want to achieve. And then it goes into like I know you can't see, but it goes into your greatness blueprint. So different areas of your life, what you want to achieve, what actions that you need to take. And then this is what's really good. On each page, it has each day. And it looks at like today, so what I've just spoken to you about, what you'd love to achieve today, what you're grateful for, your inspired actions for today, what your intentions are. So you're going into your day, you're starting your mornings with purpose. And if you start your mornings with purpose, you're likely to go to bed with satisfaction, because you've actually got a plan and a focus for the day. And I can't tell you how much this has helped me. And then in the evening, what it asks you to do is reflect, what was great about today? What did I learn after today? What behavior do I want to upgrade? What strengths did I use? So it really, and it has a little bit of a planning side as well. And that's, it can really start that process. And then what happens is, in some of the journals, like pretty much like what I spoke about, it looks at your weekly planner. So what am I looking at let's plan for the following week. Let's plan what that looks like, because then actually I'm out in the headspace. I know what I need to do. I know what I need to achieve. And then every 90 days you look at your plans and your goals. So these can be useful. They're not for everybody. You can use what I've spoke about and create your own, but they are, some journals are really good and worth using. We've also got, so if you do have any questions or want a link to that, I can get Georgie to post them out in the link. Again, that's just a personal personal side note, in terms of, I'm not sponsored by them, by the way. I'm not getting anything like that. I'm just telling you from a personal point of view and what I use. And then we've also got SMART goals. So I know that what I've taken you through some of those principles underpinned. But Rosie, one of our 5K Away ambassadors, who's brilliant, wrote an article, a blog for us on the 5K Away page around SMART goals. So it is worth looking through them, because some of that could resonate with you more than maybe this did, or you could complement the two. But what I'd say is, don't try and get too overwhelmed with too many things, because there's a lot of information around goals around there, and people use different ways of doing things. And then if you guys actually have any tools that you use that you would like to share now with the group, or that you find useful, because that's really important. It's like, we don't know everything. What do you find useful, and what do you like to use? So feel free to share anything that you use on the chat box with the group today. So I'm just going to quickly check the chat box, but I think that's okay. Yeah, Georgie shared Rosie's blog. Brilliant. I knew there's a reason we have you on here, Georgie. So thank you for listening. I'm realizing I've spoke for 52 minutes. I think it's, goal setting and this process is something I've lived and breathed, not forever. I never used to do it properly, but especially for the last year. And I've definitely learnt a lot more about it from a professional point of view, as well as a personal point of view. And it's something that I do feel very passionate about, because I feel that it really does help to give people purpose, motivation, overcoming fears, and creating, the life that you want to live. So I really do hope today has been helpful. Yes, and I'm just going to point out one of the questions. So Jane's put around using Fitbit apps, a Fitbit app. Yeah, so trackers can be a really good way of a tool to help you in terms of monitoring your goals and keeping you accountable in that process, if that's something that you want to do. Yeah, so great suggestion there, Jane. But yeah, so hopefully you have all found this useful. Let me know if you have any questions, anything you want to add, any feedback. That would be lovely. Otherwise, I think you can go and enjoy your Thursday. Is it Thursday? I don't even know what day it is. Yeah, it's Thursday evening. No, it's Wednesday. Oh gosh, I'm definitely on the wrong day today. Definitely Wednesday. Okay, thanks everybody. I can see the nod in the head, so thanks Paul for that. Yeah, so let me know if you have any questions, and like Georgie said, thank you so much for listening. I'm gonna put myself back on. I'll leave it here actually, but any questions, let us know if you enjoyed it. I'm gonna read out people's comments. So Leslie put, very helpful, only ever thought about what I want the outcome to be, not really had thought about breaking it down into phases. Yeah, and you're not alone there, Leslie, either. But hopefully you'll take those steps now that will really help you towards your goals. So brilliant. Yeah, anything else? Rachel's put, thank you, that was so helpful, loads to think about. Yeah, and try not to get overwhelmed with it. Try and just take a step back, reflect, come back to it in a couple of days time, and start that process. So brilliant. Thank you. Yeah. So James, but thank you. Need to start on my shorter goals. Absolutely. Paul's put, thank you. I'm very encouraged and like the idea of what if plan. Adaptability. Yes. Adaptability and flexibility. I think we've all learned a lot about that. So don't be scared of it. Adapt that goal, move the goalposts, and keep the process the same. Good. Brilliant. So if anybody does have any questions, you all should have Georgie's email address. So if you want to follow up with anything, or let us know how your goal setting's been going over the coming months, please let us know and keep us updated. And Kath, thank you. Let me know how I can get the sourdough recipe to you. Brilliant. Yeah. Pop it on an email to Georgie. I think you have that. you have Georgie's email, hopefully, I think. So
yeah. I'll just say there, thanks so much, Gemma, on behalf of everyone. I'll give you a clap, and if ever, there you go, I can see a few people clapping and thumbs up. That's brilliant. Thanks so much for all of that, Gemma. I learned loads as well, even though we've been through all of that already. I still took on more information, so that was fab. And hopefully everyone else enjoyed it. I popped that link into Rosie's blog, but I know Gemma talked about a few more. So yeah, you should all have my email from when I emailed you about this, but yeah, send me any questions and I can pop them through to Gemma as well. And I'll also send a link of this recording, so like Gemma said, you can go back and pause and write things down, but don't worry, like, you won't see any of you, you'll only see Gemma or me. So all good. And just really quickly, I just wanted to say that we've got another workshop happening on the 17th of March at 4 p.m. and that's on exercising and staying active during chemotherapy. So if you or anyone else that you know would be interested in that, that we'll start publicizing that soon. And I'll send the link out in the email as well. And then another one in April on the importance of exercise and physical activity in rehab for cancer, so in preparation for your surgery and or treatment. So those are the next ones we've got coming up. And the last thing is that we'll send you the feedback form, and it'd be really, really super helpful for me and for Gemma to get any of your feedback. I know a lot of you put thanks, really useful on there, but it's just 3 really quick questions, if that's all right to fill that into, that'd be fab. Thanks so much.
Brilliant. Thanks everybody. And thanks Georgie for that. That was really helpful. Have a lovely